say a couple of things. So, just a couple of emotions this morning. The first one is that it's great to be back, and I mean genuinely great to be back in a job that I've loved for a long time. The second is that there's no escaping the fact that I personally will always regret having the club have to go through what it went through, and I'll have to live with that for a long time. But there's a couple of ways of dealing with that, of course. And for me, the very best way to deal with that is to knuckle down, crack in, and give it the best shot that I can to get it behind us, and to genuinely be better for it personally, and stronger for it, and a better CEO. Along the way, though, the other thing, with some time to think, is that what you do realise is that there have been many great people who've supported me on the way through, and that's family and friends and people in the club, and the sense of obligation to repay that faith is probably the most prevalent one in my mind this morning as I make the drive into work, is just that sense of obligation to repay the faith and the loyalty that people have given to me. The support from the board, the support from staff and players, family and friends has been really quite humbling. So that's the most overwhelming emotion this morning, and I'm looking forward to getting stuck into it.
Did you have any second thoughts at all about whether it was the right thing to do to come back?
Not in recent times. I mean, late last year there were all sorts of different emotions, but as time's gone on and you reconcile it, understand it better in your head, and it's not rhetoric, to genuinely learn from it and be better for it. I then went away, needed a rest, had a look at some other environments in world sport, which is a great experience, and I think I can bring some things back. It just became stronger and stronger determination to come back and make good, really. So, and I haven't had any second thoughts since late last year.
What have you learned from all this?
Well, there's a lot of personal things that you can learn, and I won't bore you with all that, but they do range from learning more about yourself and the people around you, those who are there and those who aren't, and those who can and those who can't, and those who just better reading of situations. But in world sport, there's a lot of things. Looked at stadia, looked at culture, looked at a range of things, and so enjoyed it, but hopefully can put it into action now here as well.
When we have the draft in November and Adelaide misses out on its first round draft pick, how do you explain it to the members? It brings it all up again, doesn't it?
Well, there's no doubt it's going to come up again, but I see with a really firm sense of determination that one of the tasks that I have is to try and overcome those obstacles. There are ways of doing it. It's a sting, all right. Don't worry about that. I mean, it's quite an obstacle, but at the same time, if we can do even better, we have a terrific player development program. We have already one of the youngest lists in the competition. If we can do even better in that area, I think we can overcome it. If we give the recruiting guys all the resources in the world that they need, I think we can overcome it. Depends what we can do in the trade and the free agency. We're just going to give it everything we've got to try and overcome the hurdle.
How closely have you been following commentary about your return from blokes like Kenneth, but also just the public on radio, that sort of thing?
Not much. I saw the headline last week. Obviously, that's just uninformed. I mean, wouldn't know the facts. The other thing that I do know is that, having been in this business for a while, is that there are always mixed emotions. I mean, one of the things that sets this industry, this business apart is just the sheer emotion that's attached to it. And you're always going to have different opinions and different emotions. So I think the only way that I can answer that, I could get into a slanging match with some former Premier, but what's the point? What I really need to do is to knuckle down and let my actions speak in terms of what we do from here on in.
Stephen, the talkback radio airwaves, fans, some good, some bad. There has been a share of bad, saying they can no longer, I suppose, trust the CEO that misled them, if you want to use their words. What's your response to those things?
Well, it's exactly the same as I just said there. What I do from here on in is how I'd like to be judged.
You did resign when it all happened, and understand that the board rejected it. How serious were you about resigning? And why didn't you go through with it?
Well, dead serious. And I mean this when I say it, is that if it was the best thing for the club, then that's what should happen. And the difficulty when I look back on it is that, are you, when you're in the firestorm yourself, are you the best one to make that decision? And I think the answer is probably no, but I was fully prepared to back down if if that was the best thing for the club from people who could think more rationally about it at the time. I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky that I've got a board that supported me, and because there's not many second chances given in this really tough business of ours, and they obviously thought clearly that that I could continue and should continue, and for that I'm very grateful. Rob Chapman has done a great job in filling the breach while I've been away. The board have been calm and supportive. It's tested their patience no end, I'm sure. But as you can imagine, all that does is underline my sense of obligation to repay the faith even more.
Over the course of this whole thing, from framing the contract to when it all blew up, what do you reckon was your biggest single mistake?
Not dealing with it properly once it was done. Once we'd realised that there was a problem with it, but hindsight's an easy thing.
Is the off-field turmoil has affected the players this season?
It's a really good question. I don't think so. I spent some considerable time with Brenton before Christmas just discussing the idea that what we'd been through, how do we feel about it now before we go into battle? Do we feel as though it would be a distraction? And the answer was a really clear-cut no. So I don't think there's any way in the world we should be using it as an out for the performance at the moment. I've seen probably half of our games. I've been away for the other half. But what I'm seeing doesn't, I can't imagine that it stems back to the turmoil that we went through late last year. I think from what I've seen there are a bunch of other factors.
What are your impressions of the club on and off field in the 6 months you've had to look at from the outside?
Yeah, it's fascinating because when you've worked in the business for a while and you're on the, you're looking in, be it from some other part of the world or from your lounge. I mean, take this the right way. I think we do things really well as a club, but there are a bunch of little things that I've picked up on along the way that I think we can improve, and I'll share that with staff.
You were repeatedly asked about the Trigg contract over the last couple of years. Looking back, you're uncomfortable with how you answered some of those questions.
Well, yeah, I'm uncomfortable about the whole thing. I can't. How could I explain being comfortable with any aspect of it, given what it's meant to our club? And as I say again, is that there are a couple of ways of responding to that. You curl up in a corner and feel sorry for yourself, or actually stand up and say, I've stuffed it up and we need to make good on it, and I'd prefer the latter.
There's a couple of us players, Cameron Lang and Matthew Lloyd, who said that themselves in the Crows player situation, said that your return, given the draft picks that you've lost and that kind of thing, could have an impact on what they're trying to achieve on the field. Would there be sort of feelings of resentment or that kind of thing with your return? Are you concerned about that kind of stuff at all to a playing group?
I'm not concerned. I'm alert to everything, but I'm not concerned about that. No, not based on the level of support that I had from the players before going on the break.
There's been a few significant appointments and staff changes since you left. Were you briefed or involved or made those decisions before you left, aka Michael Smart, COO?
The period through December was about as busy as I can ever remember in terms of getting ready. So the short answer is yes, I was across all of those. Probably Shut's the only one that is a bit different and came along partly because of our situation, but I think also partly because of other things going on in the industry, is the Integrity Committee, which is a great idea and a great initiative, and I'm sure it will be beneficial for our club, and I'm looking forward to working with them.
Where's the integrity officer situation at?
I don't know, I need to be briefed. I read it in the paper.
Is there a word that describes how you feel at the moment? You're excited about coming back, you're disappointed, or...?
Well, I've been awake since 4 o'clock this morning. Excited about it. Looking forward to meeting you guys. And no, seriously, just really excited about getting back. A bit of edginess, because it's a bit like your first day at school in terms of, just wanting to get on and get things done. But probably the most profound emotion is I just want to. It's all right for us to say, I know people won't let it happen so quickly, is put it behind us and make sure that I can crack in as hard as I possibly can. A bit like a player who, the players who say, I'm going to play this game like it's my last. I don't know how long I've got left in this job. There have been no guarantees given to me either way, and I haven't put any time frame on it myself. But there's a lot of work to do, and I just have this overwhelming sense of obligation to crack in and, like a player, give one his last, playing like it's his last game. giving you everything you've got.
Do you think you'll change your style as a CEO?
A little bit, yeah, a little
Why?
bit. Need to do that. Well, I'd like to think that with the restructure that we've made to our senior executive team, that they can take a bit more of the load, and it will allow me to more effectively deal with things like Adelaide Oval, licences, reserves teams, our future, the commercial side of the business, those sorts of things.
Do you expect to learn anything new, given from Rob and his?
Looking forward to talking to Rob about how he's found it to be, but I'm not sure. I think probably this week, and I need to be really well planned this week to make sure that I use it wisely in terms of bringing myself up to speed as to what's going on.
Just on how long do you think it will take to get up to speed on 6 months?
Well, I'll try and keep a line through the diary for the first few days. I've got some one-on-ones with my key guys, but I've set myself all of this week to just get some information together.
What's it like being watching Kurt in a Swans jersey jumper?
Well, I know you think this is a benign answer, but I actually didn't have a particular emotion. I think we'd all been beaten up so much that it just felt like, let's just get on with it. So I didn't really have an emotion. As I've been quoted as saying, I actually think the penalties were harsh all round. There'll be different views about all of that, but when the AFL handed down their findings and penalties, specifically made the comment that it was they were penalties to set an example, and I think that goes all round. And I genuinely feel as though Kurt, like the rest of us, copped a harsh penalty, and I'm not being overtly sort of generous. I wish him well in his career.
You don't resent the way the Tippett camp conducted themselves through this whole thing?
At the time, I was pretty angry about the whole thing. They were probably angry as well, but is there any point in keeping that? I mean, as I say, I just need to get back to work today and get stuck into it.
A lot of people have compared. A lot of people have compared your penalty with the fact that Matthew Rendell left the club. How do you feel about that? Do you regret that he's gone? Or?
Well, what I do know is that no case is exactly the same. I've had the odd person out and about say to me about Ian Robson and his departure from Essendon, and there'll be all sorts. They're all different, and that's all I can say. Matthew's different to mine, and it's different to others. So, thanks, guys. Good to see you.